Hi. As you may know, we recently released a new firmware version for René. And anytime you add new features to something, you inevitably start to wonder, what if? When we develop instruments, we usually have lots of ideas that don't make the cut for some reason or another. There's not room for it on the panel, too specific of a use case, not as fun in practice as we thought it would be. We spend a lot of time making sure to maximize the instruments. And there are some things that are just not designed to do. But that's not the end of the story, because even if something you're looking to do isn't hard programmed into the identity of the instrument, a big part of the point of the modular is to patch it up yourself. Program your synth with patch cables. Here's an example from the comments of the René firmware update video. Drift Note says, "Amazing, changing gate length. This is the best 2020 has ever been. Do you think René will ever have gate probability?" Okay, let's see if we can figure out how to do that. If I understand this request correctly, here's what we want to happen. For each gate output on a channel, we will be able to set the likelihood per step that it sends a gate. So for example, if we set what we call probability to 100%, it will always send a gate when it reaches that step. If we set it to 50%, it will send a gate half the time. And if we set probability to 0%, it will never send a gate when we reach that step. On René, we can set gate probability to 0 or 100% per step already using the gate programming page. But if we want to set probability somewhere in between there, we're going to have to patch it up. In preparing for this video, I messed around for a while patching different ideas of how I might think to come up with patch programmed gate probability. I used random voltage, patched math up to be a comparator. I used VCAs to generate AND logic. The results were usually kind of finicky, required a bunch of patch cables, and in general were not as exciting as I hoped. Having a gate come out of René only some of the time did change up the rhythms a bit, but not in a way that I felt was exciting enough or dramatic enough that I wanted to make a whole video out of it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Just kidding. I actually really wanted to make this video on gate probability, so I kept patching, and I came up with something a little simpler, and in my mind, a little more musical and flexible as well. It probably doesn't perfectly fit the definition of gate probability, so I'm going to give it a different name. Analog gate amplitude probability. Let's check it out. Now here is what the gate sequencing sounds like coming straight out of the René. With the gate sequence we have set using the gate program page. Now let's randomize the probability of these gates in an analog way. Patch programming. Program your synth with patch cables. Let's run that gate output through channel of the Modumix. And let's hear what happens when we control their amplitude using the Y CV. We can now use the Y channel, which is being clocked simultaneously with the X channel, to set the amplitude of each gate. This is very similar to the strength channel of the zero control. But what if instead of controlling the amplitude directly, we use this channel to modulate a random voltage? This means that the higher the YCV setting per step, the louder the step could potentially be. We will put the Wogglebug stepped random in the signal input of the other Modumix channel, modulate it with the YCV, and then use the result to modulate the gate amplitude. Now, when I turn steps all the way down, we get nothing. When I turn them up, we're setting the amplitude probability instead of a simple on-off probability. And this is what I'm calling analog gate amplitude probability. In the end, I found this more interesting to play than just pure gate probability, because the differing amplitudes are similar to the difference in playing of a human instrumentalist, and we still get accents most of the time where we set the probability high. One thing to note is that this does work best when used to control a low-pass gate like the Optimix. The gate amplitudes will be lost opening most envelope generators, and we would have less nuance if patched to a standard VCA. Less nuance in the sound, I should say. Let's add a little supplemental voice with the VCO-A triangle, which I have hard synced. Patch through the echophone as well for some texture here. Would be to use some clock multiples from Tempe instead of the X-gate output. reason I love patch programming is that often, even when I have a specific goal in mind, that goal can evolve into something different from what I would have achieved with a predetermined option in my module.